Commissioners, item number 6 is an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan at 687B Greenwich Street, located within the Greenwich Village Historic District. It's docket number 155149, block 630, lot 139. It's a row house designed by Proposition Architecture and built in 1987. The application is to construct a rooftop addition. This was first presented December 2nd, 2014.
Good morning, Commissioners. Olivia Brzee, Preservation Staff. The item is 687B Greenwich Street, and as Jared mentioned, it was presented first at the December 2nd, 2014 public hearing for construction of a rooftop addition and stair bulkhead. At the December 2nd hearing, no action was taken because there was no quorum. However, some of the commissioners present expressed concerns about the bulk and of the proposed addition and also the visibility of the stair bulkhead. So the proposal before you today has not changed. It is the same. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Greenwich Street and West 10th Street. Again, it is a group of commission-approved buildings constructed in the 1980s around a courtyard with their backs facing the sides facing the streets. This is in the middle here is property in question. This is the view looking south on West 10th Street, showing the rear facade. And moving north on West 10th, this is the rear of the, view of the rear as existing. This is a view of the roof. This is a view of the roof looking forward towards the false mansard roof at the front of the property. So the addition would fill in this existing area for the occupiable space, and then on top of that would be a bulkhead section view showing that the addition will be visible and the bulkhead will be visible. This is a photo of the mock-up and a rendering showing the visibility of the addition. This portion rising above the skylight feature is the stair bulkhead, which is required by code, and the architect would prefer not to seek a reconsideration from DOB, which would be necessary in order to eliminate the stair bulkhead.
All right.
It's the same.
All right, and it didn't change because essentially there's no way of reducing the height of this enlargement and the bulkhead?
The architecture should be fine.
Yes, please. We have to reopen the hearing? Yes, okay. Reopen, okay. Yes, please come forward, yes.
Victor Schwartz, the applicant. So the answer to the question is, stair bulkhead is required by the code, 1968 code, and it is a safety issue, the means of egress. The codes have been developed over time for the purpose of safety, and we'd like to stand by what the code requirements are. This is a single family with young children, and we feel that a roof hatch is really, in that particular case, even more or less usable than young children, should it be necessary.
Right, but
code, but you prefer not to.
No, the code requires a stair bulkhead when you go over 3 stories. I was asked to ask for a reconsideration of the code.
To do a hatch.
And I have to say that while I did put the paperwork in, I was very uncomfortable, and my client was very uncomfortable asking for that reconsideration. The codes have been developed over time for specific reasons of safety that we've learned about over time. And so that's why I'm less satisfied.
Would code allow for a Bilco door at the roof with a stair going to it?
No. The code requires a stair, a roof bulkhead. That's how it's written in the code.
all right, so I think for the commission, the question is that it seems that they have looked at ways to, essentially they're not, I've looked at the plans. Currently, there's an existing location for the stair, and it's really following the location of the stair to the 4th floor and then to the roof. So from that perspective, the only way to really reduce the height is to somehow separate the staircase from where it is right now, and I think that has implications on the square footage of that room. You could do it, but it means that you have an area where you have your staircase right now, which becomes not usable, and then you're taking some other space within, I think, 350 square feet to put another staircase, right? And shift it back. So,
And it would be visible because of the location of this piece of property. It's kind of like no matter wherever I put it, because of the fact that there's a void on that street corner, you're going to see it. So we feel like the original intent was to just extend the brick facade, and in working with the community and the commission, we came up with the glass as an alternative to that. And while the community was not thrilled by it, they were willing to accept it as a successful alternative. So the community board also was hesitant about the bulkhead, but they said, yes, we can go ahead. It's not their preferred option.
okay,
But
I
it was
understand.
approved. It was approved by the community board.
All right, so I think yes.
Oh, is it a
Roberta?
landscaped roof? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
No.
No.
you're not using the roof? You're
No.
not
The
using
roof
the
is,
roof? Just,
I'm going to come out.
right,
And
okay.
the reason it's a bulkhead is because the code requires it as a second means of egress. Once you go over 3 stories, you're required to have a bulkhead.
Roberta, is that?
I know, I'm just saying, I do these kinds of projects. I don't know if I never knew you had to have a bulkhead unless you were trying to get to the,
Right, so I think the question isn't
Area.
whether you have, I think once you have to have access to the question is, do you have to have access to the roof?
The code requires, 27375 of the 1968 code specifically requires that over 3 stories, a bulkhead, the interior stair must extend to the roof of the bulkhead.
Okay.
That is the building code of 1968.
Right, and
That's
that,
applicable to the
but it's
style.
related to the fact that it's a flat roof, because you have buildings with slope roofs, and then you don't have to have
If you go a
access.
slope over a certain percentage, like 40-something%, then you don't have to have a bulkhead. But I don't have a slope roof, I have a flat roof.
Okay, so I think for the commission, the question for us is that this addition is a certain scale and size, and whether we believe that that's appropriate in the context of the Greenwich Village Historic District. So that's one, just the shape and the size, and then we can talk about the material as well. I think it's worthwhile, Olivia, just going back to some of the examples that they've shown us. I think it's in our package. Right here. So the idea of having a rooftop addition that's in the shape of a mansard, which has glass, which is like almost like an artist studio, is not necessarily, it's not an unusual feature that we see in the district, but I think the question for us is whether we feel comfortable with this particular scale. Okay. Yes, Michael?
I think it's okay. I think you see this kind of thing all the time in the village, and it just happens to be an unusually open little corner where anything you did would be visible. I certainly think the north light, quasi-north light piece is fine. I kind of wish the bulkhead would go away, and I think that you touched on the way to make it go away, to basically make it a sloped roof. But I mean, this is basically appearing in a, similar to what a sloped roof would appear to be. So, I'm okay with it.
All right. Others? Yes.
well, since he does have the reconsideration in, can't we see what happens? I would like to see it follow through, your
I would like to
reconsideration.
say that as the applicant,
Yes.
I am personally uncomfortable with that reconsideration. I put it in at Jared's request, and the codes have been developed. 1968 code is it's now been superseded with 2 additional codes. Those codes were developed over time since 1900 when the townhouse prototype, 1800 when the townhouse prototype was done in the city. There's a reason why the fire department is now making clear that we have 6-foot egress paths on roofs. These are current changes to the codes, and I have a family with 3 little children that I and my client are very uncomfortable about a roof hatch. I'm sorry.
Let me just say one thing about reconsiderations and at the Buildings Department, that I think over time, there were more reconsiderations. I think that I can't speak to, obviously, the policies that are there right now, but I think often reconsiderations have been challenged and have sometimes proven to be unpredictable, given that they are subject to challenge. So I just want to note that as a rule, they could do that, but I think it's hard for the commission to force them to do a reconsideration, given that sometimes reconsiderations are overturned after the fact, and it puts people in a complicated situation.
And our building, this building is over is it 3 stories, you're saying, that the rule applies for 3 stories and over?
I have now 4 stories with the addition. It is 3 stories, it goes to 4 stories. 3 stories does not require a bulkhead. But the code says when you go over 3 stories, unless you have a pitched roof, substantially sloped roof, you're required to run the interior stair to the rooftop.
All right. Other comments? I would agree with Michael. I think that it's, first of all, it's on a building that the commission approved, and it is at a corner, which is somewhat awkward, because normally this corner would be built with something, and this would be completely hidden, but it's a parking lot, which honestly, I have no idea whether that'll be ever redeveloped or it's a part of the building next door. So one can't depend that a building will come there and obscure it in the future. But it does seem that the scale may be a little bit larger than what we've seen in the village, but we have seen these rooftop additions that are visible and significantly visible. Now, other commissioners? Anybody?
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm a little confused about this. The A103, do you mind just going to that for a second? That one. So the photo montage that you show here on the right, that's a previous, you're saying that was a previous...
That was the original scheme that we went to the community board with, and they were just very unhappy with it. They called it a glaring rooftop, which the community board too does not approve rooftop additions. That's their statement. On the second pass, they don't approve rooftop additions, and I showed them the skylight, and they agreed to it.
I mean, because I think that this one appears less like a rooftop addition for 2 reasons. One, that there's this kind of continuation of this blind or unfinished side facade, but however we describe it, as well as the fact that the back piece, which is a chimney, could very well be sort of like your bulkhead. I mean, the idea that a bulkhead could be made and done in brick or something that mimics the chimney in the back, or something like that. It seems to me that this one is less. So, now what?
I agree. I think this is much preferable to the one that's being proposed now. I didn't see it before. I'm seeing it now. I think that's absolutely preferable.
Other commissioners?
I agree. I prefer this.
I think the applicant wouldn't have any issue with going back to the original proposal.
Yeah.
Do any of the commissioners would prefer to see this?
I
think that sometimes we may find ourselves at odds with the community board. That
Yes.
does happen. I think our considerations may be different. And I agree, in some ways this doesn't feel like such an appendage. It actually feels like part of the building.
Improvement to that.
And in fact, if you can extend it further, it just would sort of complete the building at one level. So
So we're comparing what, this one with
Right.
106, right?
Yeah.
Those are the 2.
Yeah,
right, one was
this is the
sort of
current
limited.
one, and that was his,
This is
yeah,
Limited,
that was his prior one presented to the board, yeah, that they didn't
So
approve.
then the skylight sort of thing comes just at the top, and it's really a continuation of the brick, which is obviously a very common material in the village. And having a 4-story building, because just remember, this building that was approved by us at 3 stories. I don't think necessarily a 4-story building is outside the character of the district.
And then Michael was suggesting some more, a little bit of different treatment on the, was it you or Ade?
You know, the same.
Just to, with
We're
this,
both saying that this is a preferable treatment to the.
right, but I thought you were
No, there-
saying maybe continue the brick along.
Right, and if it continued all the way across, it'd be even better.
No, I wasn't proposing that. I was just saying,
Give them much more than they're asking for now.
I mean, I don't know that I have an opinion about that, but I was just referring, Diana, to the problem with the bulkhead in the other proposal.
Yeah, no, I
might be
agree.
resolved by a different material, brick or something else, but now it's no longer visible, it seems, right, in this case?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, yeah. No, I agree. I just was trying to hear if you had other
No.
suggested design changes for this version.
Right, no,
Okay.
All right, is it the opinion of the commission to support the first iteration?
Yeah.
All right, very good. We can close the hearing then. And Diana, can you do the resolution for me?
Okay.
So it's just approval, findings are fine.
Just,
I just want to make sure that, yeah, there's no changes.
That-
Okay. All
right,
the
and
certi-
Jared, that it's reflecting
Yeah.
the previous design,
This design, yeah.
A103,
Okay,
not
fine.
the, okay.
In the matter of a certificate of appropriateness, Borough of Manhattan, 155149, 387B Greenwich Street, Greenwich Village Historic District. Yeah, 687. Block 630, lot 139. Application is to construct a rooftop addition. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed rooftop addition will not result in the removal of any historic fabric or significant architectural features, that the proposed punch window openings will follow an appropriate fenestration pattern at this facade, that the proposed skylight recalls historic skylights and studio windows found in buildings throughout the historic district, and that the proposed rooftop addition will only be visible in context with other undeveloped secondary facades.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application's been approved.